If you have been told that the answer to poor leg circulation after 60 is simply to walk more, I want to start by saying something important. That advice is not wrong. Walking is good for your heart. It is good for your joints. It is good for your mood, your balance, your stamina, and your general health. But if your ankles still swell by evening, if your feet feel cold in bed, if your calves ache when you stand too long, or if your legs feel heavy and tired no matter how faithful you have been with your walks, then walking alone may not be doing the one job you actually need most. I'm Dr. Sophie Hale, and over the years I have met so many people who felt like they were failing, when really they were just missing one crucial piece of the puzzle. They were walking every day. They were trying to stay active. They were doing what they had been told. And still, the swelling stayed, the heaviness stayed, the soreness stayed, that uneasy feeling in the legs stayed. And the reason is simpler than most people realize. Poor leg circulation after 60 is not only about whether you move, it is about whether you are switching on the exact muscle system that pushes blood out of the lower leg and sends it back up toward the heart. That system has a name in medicine, but most people know it by a simpler phrase. Your second heart. And your second heart lives in your calves. That is the part no one explains clearly enough. Your arteries carry blood down into the legs. But once that blood gets there, your veins have to bring it back up against gravity. They do not do that job well on their own. They rely on the calf muscles to squeeze the deep veins every time those muscles contract. Tiny valves inside the veins help stop blood from falling backward. When the calf muscles are strong and active, blood gets pushed upward much more efficiently. When those muscles are weak, stiff, or barely engaging, blood tends to linger lower in the legs. That is when people start noticing swelling around the ankles. That is when the legs begin to feel heavy. That is when the feet feel colder than they used to. That is when standing still starts to feel strangely uncomfortable. And after 60, this becomes much more common for a few reasons. We naturally lose muscle mass. We tend to spend more time sitting. Old injuries, arthritis, stiffness, and fear of falling all reduce how strongly we move. The veins themselves may not be as springy as they once were, so even people who are trying hard can slowly slip into a pattern where blood is not moving as well as it should. Now here is the encouraging part. You do not need an expensive machine. You do not need an hour at the gym. You do not need to become a power walker. You need to wake up that pump. And there is one particular exercise that does this better than the others, because it creates a firm, sustained squeeze exactly where that return flow needs the most help. I am going to walk you through 5 movements in a simple countdown from 5 to 1. Every one of them helps. Every one of them has a purpose. But number 1 is the exercise I want you to remember, because if you only do one thing after this video, that is the one I would choose. Before I get to the list, let me tell you about someone I will call Denise. Denise was 68, smart, active, independent, and incredibly disciplined. She had the kind of calendar that made younger people tired just looking at it. She walked in the morning. She ran errands, she went to church, she helped with her grandchildren. From the outside, she looked like she was doing everything right. But every night, by the time she sat down for dinner, her socks had left deep marks around her ankles, her legs felt tight. Her feet felt cold, and when she got up from the couch, she sometimes had that odd, unstable feeling that made her pause before taking a step. What frustrated her most was this. She was already doing the thing everyone kept telling her to do. She was already walking. What she needed was not more effort. She needed a more specific kind of effort. So let's start the countdown. Number 5 is ankle pumps. This one is so simple that many people dismiss it immediately. That is a mistake. Ankle pumps are one of the easiest ways to begin moving blood out of the lower legs, especially if you spend long stretches sitting, if your balance is poor, or if your legs feel tired easily. Here is how it works. When you pull your toes up toward your shin and then point them back down, your calf muscle alternates between tightening and relaxing. Even though the movement is small, it helps nudge that calf pump into action. To do it, sit upright in a chair with both feet flat on the floor. Lift your toes while keeping your heels down. Then press the toes down and lift your heels. Move slowly. Do not rush it. Think about control, not speed. Aim for 20 to 30 repetitions. You can do them while watching television, reading, sitting at the kitchen table, or waiting for the coffee to brew. The reason this matters is that sitting quietly for long periods gives blood more opportunity to settle in the lower legs. Ankle pumps interrupt that. They are not the strongest tool on this list, but they are a very practical way to keep the system from going completely idle. They are especially useful first thing in the morning, after a long car ride, or any time you have been sitting for a while. Now, ankle pumps are a good start, but they mainly target the lower leg. The next movement brings the upper leg into the picture. Number 4 is seated leg lifts. This movement looks easy until you do it correctly. When you slowly extend one leg out in front of you and hold it, the muscles across the front of the thigh have to work. Those muscles matter far more than people realize because they help you stand up, stabilize yourself, and keep walking with confidence. And when large muscles contract, they also help support circulation by compressing the veins higher up the leg. To do seated leg lifts, sit in a sturdy chair with your back tall and both feet on the floor. Slowly straighten one leg out in front of you. Keep the motion smooth. Hold it for a second or two, then lower it slowly. Do not let it drop. That is 1 repetition. Do 10 to 15 repetitions on one side, then switch to the other. The trick here is not to lean back and swing the leg. If you use momentum, you steal the work away from the very muscles you are trying to wake up. Keep your body steady. Let the thigh do the job. This movement does 2 useful things at once. It helps maintain strength in muscles that protect independence, and it encourages more active circulation through the leg instead of passive pooling. A lot of people think circulation is only about the feet and ankles. It is not. The whole leg matters. Now we move from seated work to standing work. Number 3 is supported calf raises. This is where things start getting more powerful. If I had to choose the most overlooked muscle for both circulation and stability in older adults, it would be the calf. The calf does not get the same attention as the knees, hips, or lower back, but it plays an enormous role in how steady, mobile, and comfortable you feel. To do a supported calf raise, stand behind a sturdy chair or at a kitchen counter. Rest your hands lightly for balance. Place your feet about hip-width apart. Then rise up onto the balls of your feet as high as feels comfortable. Pause briefly, then lower down slowly. That is 1 repetition. Start with 10. Build from there. This movement trains the calf muscle through a fuller contraction than ordinary walking usually provides. That matters because many people do walk, but they walk with short steps, careful steps, or stiff steps. Their calves never really have to work hard. Supported calf raises ask those muscles to do their proper pumping job. And there is another benefit here that should not be underestimated. Every time you rise and lower with control, you are also training the ankles and the balance system. That means circulation and stability are improving together. For many older adults, that combination is exactly what keeps a small wobble from turning into a dangerous fall. If any part of this is already sounding familiar to your own experience, stay with me, because the next 2 are where the real shift often happens. Number 2 is the single leg stance hold. Now this one surprises people because they think it is only a balance drill. It is not only a balance drill, it is a circulation drill too. The moment you stand on one leg, the muscles in the foot, ankle, calf, hip, and core all have to stay active to keep you upright. That means the calf is not just contracting once and relaxing. It is maintaining a steady level of work, and that sustained effort is part of what helps keep blood moving upward instead of letting it drift back down. To do it, stand next to a counter, sturdy chair, or wall. Keep one hand near support. Shift your weight onto one leg and lift the other foot just slightly off the ground. You do not need to raise it high. Stand tall. Keep your eyes looking forward. Breathe normally. Hold for 10 to 20 seconds to start. Then switch sides. Do 2 rounds on each leg. If that feels too hard at first, lightly touch the counter the whole time. There is no prize for making it unsafe. The point is not to wobble dramatically. The point is to build steadier control. Why does this matter so much? Because poor circulation and fear of falling often feed each other. A person feels unsteady, so they move less. Because they move less, the calf pump weakens. Because the pump weakens, the legs feel heavier and more swollen. Because the legs feel heavier and more swollen, the person moves even less. That spiral is incredibly common. The single leg stance begins interrupting it by challenging the exact systems that help you stay upright and keep blood moving. But now we come to number 1. This is the movement I most wanted to share with you. This is the one exercise that directly targets that second heart action in the calves with the most intentional squeeze. Number 1 is the standing calf pump hold. At first glance, it looks like a regular calf raise. The difference is the hold at the top, and that hold changes everything. When you rise up onto the balls of your feet and stay there for a few seconds, the calf muscles remain firmly contracted. That creates a more sustained compression of the deep veins in the lower leg. In simpler terms, it gives the pump enough time to really do its job. Instead of a quick up and down motion, you are creating a deliberate squeeze. That squeeze helps push blood up and out of the lower leg more effectively than casual movement usually can. Here is how to do it. Stand behind a chair or at a kitchen counter. Keep your hands there for balance. Place your feet hip-width apart. Slowly rise onto the balls of your feet. Lift your heels as high as feels safe and comfortable. Once you reach the top, hold for 3 to 5 seconds. Keep breathing, keep your eyes forward, then lower down slowly over about 3 seconds. That is 1 repetition. Start with 8 to 10 repetitions. As you grow stronger, work toward 15 or even 20. Do not rush. Do not bounce. Do not turn it into a fast up and down motion. The hold is the point. That is what makes this different. That is what turns a simple movement into a powerful circulation exercise. And here is why I like this movement so much for adults over 60. It does not require impact. It does not require a large space. It does not depend on perfect weather. It does not depend on long endurance. It directly trains the exact muscle pump the lower legs rely on. It also strengthens the same muscles that help you recover from a misstep, climb stairs more comfortably, and feel more secure when standing still. For many people, that combination is the breakthrough. Now let me tell you what changed for Denise. Instead of obsessing over whether she had walked enough steps, I had her build a short daily routine. Ankle pumps while sitting in the morning, seated leg lifts after breakfast, supported calf raises at the counter, single leg stance holds with one hand near support, and standing calf pump holds to finish. It took about 10 to 12 minutes, not an hour, not a complicated program, just a short sequence done consistently. What happened was not magic. It was not overnight. And I would never promise that. But within a few weeks, she noticed that her ankles were not swelling as much by the end of the day. Her legs felt lighter, her feet were not as cold at bedtime, and maybe most important of all, she felt steadier when getting up and taking those first few steps. That matters. Because when people feel steadier, they move more confidently. When they move more confidently, circulation improves further. And once that cycle starts working in your favor instead of against you, life gets easier. Now, before you run off and start these today, I want to give you one honest word of caution. These exercises are for the slow, everyday kind of circulation trouble people often describe as heaviness, mild swelling, fatigue, or cold feet. They are not for a sudden emergency. If you ever have sudden severe pain in one leg becomes much more swollen than the other very quickly, the foot suddenly turns pale or unusually cold, or you have a sore on the foot that is not healing, do not sit at home trying to exercise through it. That is something you should have medically assessed right away. Safety first, always. But for the common chronic pattern, the kind that creeps in gradually and makes people feel older than they really are, these movements can be incredibly useful. So let me leave you with the simple truth most people need to hear. Keep walking. Walking is good. Walking matters. But if walking has not solved the problem, it does not mean you are lazy, broken, or beyond help. It may simply mean walking was never the full answer. The full answer is teaching the calf pump to work again. That is why these 5 movements matter. Number 5, ankle pumps, to wake things up. Number 4, seated leg lifts, to recruit the thighs and support blood flow through the whole leg. Number 3, supported calf raises, to build a stronger pumping action and better stability. Number 2, single leg stance holds, to combine circulation with balance and control. And number 1, the standing calf pump hold, the most targeted and effective of the group because of that deliberate, sustained squeeze at the top. If you only remember one thing from this video, remember this. The best exercise for poor leg circulation after 60 is not necessarily the one that burns the most calories or gets the most steps. It is the one that most directly switches on the pump that sends blood back out of the lower legs. That is the standing calf pump hold. Do it carefully. Do it consistently. Do it with support nearby, and give it time to work. I'm Dr. Sophie Hale, and if your legs have been telling you that something is missing, this may be the piece you have been overlooking. You do not need perfection. You need repetition. A few minutes a day, a little patience, a little consistency, and a willingness to work with your body in a more specific way. That is how people stay mobile longer. That is how they stay steadier longer. That is how they stop surrendering to symptoms they thought were just part of aging. Your body is still listening, your muscles are still trainable, and your circulation is still something you can influence. Start with the version that feels safest for you. Use a chair, use a counter, move slowly, stay steady. And if you are able, build toward that number 1 hold, because that is the one most likely to make the difference you can actually feel.